Yahsonn. Real conversations. Lately we be having conversations with people, cause we feel like there's nobody really talking truth. We be having conversations with people, cause too many media houses changing up the news. Everything was green light, now we seeing red. Everybody got opinions, few got facts instead. We be having conversations with people, cause we feel like there's nobody really talking truth. Tuesday night and everybody tuned in live. Bankie and Yahsonn bringing reason in every time. Talking politics and the things affecting lives. Breaking down the stories they be trying to hide. Used to trust the system, now the trust gone. Everybody talking loud, but the facts wrong. People tired of the fake and the gimmicks too, so they coming to these topics for a clear review. Got the whole Caribbean locked on the station. Real entertainment network building conversations. No script vibes, now stage for the camera. Just real people talking straight with stamina. And we be having conversations with the people, cause we feel like there's nobody really talking truth. We be having conversations with the people, cause too many media houses changing up the news. Everything was green light, now we seeing red. Everybody got opinions, you got facts instead. We be having conversations with the people, cause we feel like there's nobody really talking truth. Sometimes Fridays got a special live session. Big topics got the whole place stressing. Agriculture, crime, economy discussion. Every episode spark another conversation, and the comments start flying when the lights start. Everybody got a view from the heart. Some agree and some disagree too, but at least deep topics bringing real views. No pretending when the mic turn on. Yahsonn reasoning while Bankie stay strong. People checking in from overseas too, cause authentic conversation hard to come through. Everything was green light, now we seeing red. Everybody got opinions, few got facts instead. We be having conversations with the people, cause we feel like there's nobody really talking true. Topiks, Bankie and Yahsonn. Real conversations. Lately we be having conversations with people, cause we feel like there's nobody really talking truth. We be having conversations with the people, cause too many media houses changing up.
Global greetings. Welcome to another edition of the Topics here on Real Entertainment Network. It's another beautiful Tuesday evening here on Oli and Layamiga, the indigenous names for the islands known as Nevis and St. Kitts. I want to say good evening to our brothers and sisters throughout the entire Eastern Caribbean. Also to all of our Caribbean leaders who are presently in St. Lucia with the heads of CARICOM meeting and summit that is taking place. I hope folks are tuned in and paying attention to what's going on and not just caught up with a lot of the festivities and all that's going on. Sometimes they say they use a lot of bread and circus to keep us distracted from the real issues at hand. And so I want to encourage us to pay close attention to some of these things and decisions that are made. In a lot of cases, these decisions are made without any consultations or any discussions with us. But at the end of the day, we sometimes have to align with a lot of these decisions that are made. I also want to say good evening to our, well, good evening, good morning, or good afternoon. Some one of those greetings may be applicable to you depending on where on the globe you are presently. For this evening, as usual, I have my usual co-host, Shabazz Bankie King, and we have our special guest for this evening, Miss Janette Nisbett-Meloney, with us this evening, and we look forward to a very interesting and engaging discussion this evening. So I want to take some time also to say good evening to our sponsors, Islander Water Sports, and On the Rocks Restaurant. If you're thinking of traveling between the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, one of the easiest and one of the best ways, most professional folks you can deal with. Check out the Islander Water Sports, and they can get you around St. Kitts and Nevis. And also, if you're thinking of traveling to some of the neighboring islands, whether it's St. Martin, Anguilla, Sabre Station, St. Eustatius, you can check them out. They offer charter services if you so desire to, make those sort of excursions. In terms of while you're awaiting, whether it's going to or from St. Kitts, while maybe you're waiting someone to come and pick you up, you can always spend some quality time there at On the Rocks Restaurant. The ambiance and the setting is perfect, wonderful for sunset view. You can enjoy the sunset, enjoy the fresh caught seafood that's usually on the menu, along with all of the other, scrumptious dishes that's available and beverages that you can have there at On the Rocks. And they are our sponsors here, along with Shabazz Organics, Imperial Rides, Taxi and Tours, and the Heritage Cafe. So, good evening, Shabazz Bankie King. And then we're going to get an opportunity to welcome our guest to the platform. And we give her an opportunity to introduce herself and, tell us a little bit about herself. And then we get into a little bit of the discussions that we're going to have this evening. So, Bankie, greetings, welcome.
Yahsonn, good evening, and good evening to our guests. As I realized, I might be a little host, so I just want the listening audience and viewers to just work with me this evening. It's been a long weekend from since Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the long weekend of the Mango and Food Festival. So I've been doing a lot of talking, a lot of interviews and stuff like that. And plus, you all been hearing, those who listen to the show, you've been hearing me speak about big up my nieces and them Amanis who do the cooking and Aisha at the Mansell's last stop. But for the last 2 weeks to a month, we really been going through a struggle because Aisha's son had came down with an illness and now he has gone. So I received the message yesterday when we're about to leave the house to go to the Mango Festival, and the reality is I was not gonna go. You know what I mean? I was just not gonna go, because that was not something I expect to receive a message going out the house that the young man, 24 years old, studying to be an architecture, full of energy, vibrant, and so is his sister, two beautiful souls, destined for places, and just no drinking, no smoking, just end up with a medical situation. So I'm just saying this, you know, that we're going short and going to the Mango Festival, interacting with people, smiling views, but you don't know inside, I'm dying. And this is just the reality. So a lot of people wear masks every day, as you hear me say it all the time. But I even gave my uncle man said, and now his grandson following behind of him. 24. You see what I mean? Youth ain't start to live yet. The youth, there are some, they speak every day about youth, but there are a lot of youth doing good, and more doing good than bad. Some take the little negative, those with the negative, and put and blame all the youth on them. So I don't do stuff like that. So that is not something good. So I just want you all to just reach out to Aisha, because this is, and Jerome Paris. Because Jerome Paris is that Colleen and Lynn and all the guys up in Code and stuff like that. And also her husband Rudy, because within the same household. So you just know people going through. I mean, it's just things go through your head. Don't even keep up with these shows and all this thing, because it just, this, a lot of things doesn't make no sense. Then at the Mango Festival, I must say, big up the tourism department and stuff like that and the NTA. But at the same time, if something is not broken, don't fix it. Don't change it. It's working, let it play. The model have already been set at the Mango Festival when the stage is set up. The stage is a focal point around an event. The bar also set up precedents, be strategic. And then if you're gonna have a shop, that gotta be in the focal point also with the bar. Because you're selling stuff, you don't move a situation and move it in an area at the back, isolate itself, and think people in our work, you're gonna lose. My thing is, as someone who goes out, who been on entertainment, I analyze things. They go hire me, you know. I start things on time. If it's one thing I tell anybody, I do hours before ready to start. I always ready. Nobody have to babysit me. I've been doing this as a teenager, promoting big shows, BS Odyssey, Stone Love, all these things. We just want to do that at a something work, do not fix it. But I don't let people do the things because too much people mix up yourself and then you lose all your money because you invest in a whole heap of drinks and you're not getting them sell. And then you have people products to sell. I you know, you go put me out, say me not come in, then me gonna get through. Because the people gonna just come because people come to look mangoes, come to learn about mangoes, so they're gonna find the mango area. But there's some people in the party and they now move over, they're dead to go buy a drink, don't want to go outside. I hope they learn from this situation here. And the next thing, they put themselves to the back. The amphitheater is an area that should be left open where people who don't want to move away from the music go and chill with their family, or with the look by the friend by themselves and watch on what goes on. Then the police gonna come and block off the entrance and snap right if the things the boat is with this shop. Who see when the police block them off? I don't tell them the police need to be inside there. Let them go open what the little children them play. Make sure they are safe. Can nobody in there cause no confusion. Don't just block it. Don't. In the future, my best advice: leave this stage where it's at, and leave this shop and everything surrounding this stage. You can isolate yourself and move the bar to bar and shop and put it in the amphitheater. Then people will sit in on the amphitheater, you're blocking off their view. Because that's what they're designed for. That is not designed for stuff like that. You're just trying to think to say you want it because you're using up the whole park. The whole park is not to be used like that. That area is to be used if you have a little function, mask, and people go sit around the rim and watch what goes on, not to put tents in there to block off the seat. We got to think smarter than that. You can't do that's the only issue. And I know they ain't make the money off no drinks. Cause I analyze, and then you park a truck with barbecue thing, blocking off the view also, so obstructing a lot of views. People who and cancel other things. Them on this certain logistics and stuff like that. The signs them was nice and all that different stuff, which is fine. The people come out and attended in their numbers, which is beautiful. But the area where there was 99% of the people didn't make it down there, and they're not gonna. You see, so they get a F for that. For moving the two bars and the main shop down the car, them is the focal point. How can you be the focal point and you outsell yourself? That is funny to me. You screw yourself over, and how can the poor shoot your foot, shoot the nail in your own foot? By just doing that, trying to work an experiment. Those experiments don't work. You can't, wherever the stage is at, that's where people are going to stay. Because they're not going to leave there to work to go back. Because they don't lose their position, get comfortable. The next thing, moving on to there was a graduation. That's where I have a godchild, Janette Nisbett, daughter of Evelyn Nisbett, a grandchild of Claude Nisbett, better known as Cocky Nevis, car rental. His granddaughter graduated from Mart Cross at the top of her class, valedictorian, 98.4%, highest in the school written exam ever, and highest in those who take the exam for this year. Brilliant youth, full of talent. You understand? A lot of talent, going places. Daughter of Pinocchio. Trust me, girl going places, young lady going places. If you consider that, it's just a star, natural talent, brilliant. So just want to congratulate her and all the other graduates. Put out all the schools on the island and those who did well, who can just have to improve more and just put in the work. Those who put in the work, that's what we're going to get out. Okay? But parents just need to realize children need a few basic subjects. This 13, 15, and 100, not necessarily. Give them some science, some math, so they can speak properly, and history, and cooking. Let them take on some cooking, and they'll be all right. But science is the key. The biology, the physics, the chemistry, those are what they're going to need. And then the mind finger and music. But apart from that, just want to say, Jalen, big up yourself, Evelyn, and her, her partner there, Dance, that I don't remember the gentleman name, and all those who came out to support, and Mark graduate. And also, I think it, to me, I mean, I see it to be a historic thing where you never see a mom and a daughter really cheering on a graduation in a sense. So big up Denise Smithson, she was the chair, and then you had her mom came up and did the presentation of receiving the certificates and stuff like that for the graduation. And I also want to big up JD. She was the featured speaker. I mean, natural talent, being creative when you're dealing with the speaking to the youth and them funny and stuff like that. And those are things you just can't pay for. You see what I mean? She just got that natural ability to communicate well, depending on who she targeting, the target audience at the time, and everyone get involved. So definitely, she did a very, very good job on that, and just want to big up. And when you have people like these, you got to look beyond what they're involved in, because these are talent that will pass on to generation to come. This is how I make observation when I'm out in the public. I'm not just there, I'm there doing things different, people behavior. So when you think you watch you too, so we function, me watching everybody, me not blind, you understand? Scan everybody. And that's how I teach my youth them. So everybody who smiles to the end genuine. Just smile back too, but you're watching them too. You see what I mean? That is how you analyze people. Cause you gotta move around, cause all we're going on is pure vultures around, you know. Everybody have the intent. So I move around with my room full of vultures, trusting nobody. And that's going to always be. Because people going to come, but they come with the intention. Nothing is coincidental. So what I see today was a beautiful thing. A lot of young youths coming up. And this is what our society is about. Every year we have hundreds and hundreds of youth get. So what are the plans to keep these youths around on the island? When you go off and come back and all these things. This is how you keep a country growth, not you want your children. Just like the Caribbean countries, them, everybody want to come here. It mean they're failing because you're supposed to put things in place where the wages is good and the people supposed to remain in your country and not to want to go to an island hopping and the kind of vibes. So a lot of these Caribbean countries are failing their country with their minimum wage and a lot of these things. It shows that they have poor leaders. You see, okay, if you compare the leaders pay wage by the minimum wage to the others, you realize that. But let's put that to say because of the graduation. So let me say good evening to our guests. Cindy, how are you doing?
I am fine. My condolences to you and family, Aisha, Jerome,
Appreciate
and the
it.
passing. I think Ishan. What's the
Aishan,
name,
yeah.
Bankie? Ishan.
Aishan,
Yeah,
yeah.
he used to be in class with my son Mikel, and Mikel called me
Okay.
yesterday. He was in total shock, and he himself is saddened by the passing because they were very good friends, and he keeps saying he was such a good boy, such a good young
Yes.
man, mommy, and he can't believe that he has passed. So I am saddened by it myself. So condolences, and I hope that God will grant your
Okay.
family the strength in this difficult time.
Yeah, and I send my condolences as well to the family. And I mean, Jerome was a classmate of mine actually. Aisha, we get along very well, even up to today still, yeah, Aisha was very close to my sister Aisha. So they were very good friends. Still, I think, very good friends. And so, yeah, my condolences, Aisha, and your family, and all of the family, Bankie, and the others. Yeah, I send my sympathy. Bankie, a lot of the topics that you addressed in your introduction, you really said a mouthful, and more. But I anticipate some of these things that you would have brought up in your introduction would be addressed in some of the presentations presented by Miss Maloney this evening. But before we get into a lot of what she's going to be putting on the table, so to speak, or presenting for us, we'll give her an opportunity to introduce herself and tell us a little bit of who you are. I know that you have been on the platform before and all that. And I know you may want to think that the people of St. Kitts and Nevis know who you are, but we are a widely listened to platform. People listen to us from all over the world, and there's some who's going to be listening for the first time. Speaking about that, I want to encourage folks who are listening to subscribe to the YouTube platform, click on the notification bell, subscribe, like, and make sure you share as well. We've got a lot in store for you this evening. Lots of information, lots of interesting things to learn about. And so we're going to be giving Miss Meloney the opportunity now to introduce herself. So welcome to the platform. I know you're not a stranger to the platform, but the floor is yours this evening. So welcome.
Thank you very much, and good evening to the host, and of course, you and Yahsonn and Bankie, my fellow
Good
panelists, and
evening.
everyone listening from St. Kitts and Nevis and the wider Caribbean and the world at large. Yahsonn, I'm not so good. I have a major weakness. I'm not so good at talking about myself. So I'll just simply say Janette Nisbett from Jessup Village, a Nivijan by heart, a world and Caribbean minded person, and I love people and I love my country, and I am committed to do whatever I can to serve the people of this federation, because I believe that we deserve governance that is rooted in integrity, competence, and somebody that genuinely have concern for the welfare of the people living in this federation. And that is well, that's about it for now. I don't know if you want me to go on to talk about what I would be talking, the topic which I will be addressing tonight. When I did my research, I said this might take more than one episode. So I call in tonight episode one, and I am hoping that you will grant me the opportunity to come back again and talk about other, deliver other episode on the topic. So tonight we're going to be looking at understanding the federation, because over the years I realized federal election as it
Before
is what I
before
want.
Wait, wait.
before
But one second
before we get
before
into
before
that,
you go. Banky, wait, hold a second, because um, as I listened to Miss Maloney just a while ago, right? I heard it's like I heard in her um the next representative for some, whether it's as an independent candidate or as maybe for some other party, because as I listened to her, as she said, I just want to be able to do what is best for. So is that something that is um, on the agenda as well? Because seemingly election is around
It's
the
on
corner,
the
and
agenda. It's something, on reflection, is something I'm seriously thinking about doing. So it's on the
okay,
agenda.
so
Not
folks,
official as yet, but
not
something
official
is.
yet. Okay, food for thought. Okay, Banky, I think you were going to ask something. Is that you were going to ask, or you had something
yes,
else in mind?
basically, yes. I was just gonna let the general public know her intentions is to run as an independent candidate. So, which it means the area of St. Thomas's will be definitely be
St.
filled,
James's.
and St. James that St. James will we have
Oh, so
different
that's
people running
federal.
that area and stuff like that. Yes, in the
Federal. Okay,
federal.
cool. Okay.
Yes, so you definitely have at least 4 different people running. So it's sure up for a battle. So let's see. So what will make your way to encourage others to vote for you? What will make it different than the other candidates?
I think that what I'm bringing is, I believe in transparency. I believe in the bottom up approach to dealing with persons. I am not about just saying things. I am a practical person, especially when it comes to the nature of the federal election. It's my sincerity of purpose. I'm rather sincere in what I say, in terms of I want to do whatever I can do to help in making the lives of Nigerians and people in the federation better. And I am looking at, it's not an I thing, it's a we thing. I want to, I see the community members as team, as a part of this. It's a we thing, and we all have to work together to bring about results. I do not, I would want the people to talk back to me, tell me what they think, what they would want, But first, I think that there must be an understanding of the federal government and what it entails, and then we can discuss further.
All right, go straight ahead.
Okay, so understanding the federation and looking at how can Nevis maximize the benefits of being part of a federal state. I think sometimes we talk about the federal election loosely and it become a party thing. Oh, who can go down with 3 seats or 1 seat? And so I think that I just refresh us as to what the federal government or election it entails. And so, once again, I want to thank you for inviting me to participate in this discussion, and I look forward to hearing from other persons as to your views as to the understanding the federation, so we can learn from each other. Tonight's topic is an important one because it is not simply about politics; it is about governance, and it is about understanding the Constitution. And ultimately, it is about ensuring that our constitutional arrangement improve the lives of our people. As I prepare for as I prepared for tonight's program, I spent some time reading our constitution. One thing immediately stood out at me. Many of us speak confidently about government, but some of us may not have actually taken the time to understand how our system of government was designed. And like I said, some of us. So tonight, rather than focusing on personalities or political parties, I hope we can focus on principles. I like us to move beyond politics of St. Kitts versus Nevis, the Constitution, because the Constitution created one federation with 2 islands. The question isn't whether the federal government should matter to Nevis. The question is, how do we ensure that the federal government works for all citizens, including those in Nevis? I believe that this conversation is worth having. Now, understanding, I want us to first look at 3 constitutional ideas. The Federation. The Federation is a country. St. Kitts and Nevis is 2 islands, one country. Section 1 of the Constitution tells us that St. Christopher and Nevis is one sovereign, democratic, federal state. That means there is one nation, one citizenship, one constitution, one sovereign state. Everything else begins there. The federal government. The federal government is the national government responsible for matters assigned to it under the Constitution. These include responsibilities such as foreign affairs, national security, citizenship, immigration, international relations, national finance, and national economic policy. These are matters that affect the entire federation. The federal government, therefore, should serve every citizen, whether they live in St. Kitts or Nevis. Then we have the Nevis Island Administration. Chapter 10 of the Constitution establishes the Nevis Island Administration. It gives the administration responsibility for many local matters, including education, labor, fisheries, airports, and seaports. Notice something important. The Constitution does not create a second sovereign government, it creates an administration. The administration exists within the federation. What make Nevis unique? There is something many citizens may have never really stopped to think about. The Constitution creates Nevis Island administration, it does not create a Sinkit Nevis, a Sinkit administration, island administration. This means Nevis participates in governance through two constitutional levels. Nevis participate in the federal government and also the Nevis Island administration. That's why we have to go to the polls twice. In Sinkit, many of the local executive functions are are carried out through the federal government because there is no equivalent island administration. Sinkit does not have an island administration. That constitutional difference made Nevis unique within the federation. Therefore, if Nevis has two levels of executive governance, while Sinkit has one, how can we ensure that this unique constitutional arrangement delivers the greatest possible benefit to the people of Nevis and to the Federation as a whole? Now we have to look at dual constitutional responsibility, as Sinkit does not have an administration. Dual, this is what this is not a term used in the Constitution itself. This is a term I made up myself, dual constitutional responsibility. This is not a phrase found in the Constitution, as I mentioned. It is simply my way of describing the practical reality created by our constitutional arrangement. Political leaders from Nevis who serve at both the federal and islands levels are often balancing responsibilities to two constitutional institutions, the federal government and the Nevis Island administration. Their first responsibility is to govern in the national interests. Their second responsibility is to ensure that the people of Nevis are effectively represented whenever national decisions are being made. These responsibilities should complement each other, not compete with one another. Serving the Federation should never require neglecting Nevis. At the same time, advocating for Nevis should never weaken the Federation. Representation must produce results. Representation is much more than occupying a seat around the cabinet table. Representation must produce results. Federal ministers should influence policy before decisions are made. They should advocate for investment, support national development, ensure that Nevis benefits from national programs, build partnership internationally, and strengthen opportunity for all citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis. Ultimately, citizens should judge representation not by titles, but by the outcomes. Partnership and not competition. There should be partnership, not competition. Sometimes our political discussions suggest that the federal government and the Nevis Island administrations are opponents. I do not believe that's what the Constitution intended. One institution has national responsibilities, the other has local responsibilities. The Constitution created partners, not rivals. When those institutions cooperate, our people benefit. Accountability begins with understanding. One of the most important lessons I learned while studying the Constitution is this: the Constitution tells us who is responsible for what. Citizens can only hold leaders accountable when they understand those responsibilities, if we misunderstand the Constitution, we risk blaming the wrong institution. We might be blaming the government when it's supposed to be the administration, vice versa. For instance, if education falls within the responsibilities assigned to the Nevis Island administration, citizens should understand that. If foreign affairs, national security, or international agreement fall within the responsibilities of the federal government, citizens should understand that too. Good governance begins when responsibility is clearly understood. Only when then can citizens fairly evaluate the performance of our leaders. I know sometimes we find in the federal election there's the blame game, who get fair share and who had to help out and stuff like that. And so we now have to understand where the responsibility falls, whether it is the administration or the government. There is only one government for St. Kitts and Nevis, and that's the federal government. Communication is leadership. Leadership is not only about making decisions. Leadership is also about explaining decisions. People may not always agree with government policies. However, citizens deserve to know why was the decision made, who was consulted, how will it affect them, what alternatives were considered. Good communication builds trust. Poor communication creates uncertainty. Transparency in government should never be seen as a weakness. It is one of the greatest foundation of true democracy. And I'm going to pause here for now in case Yahsonn or Bankie of you all
Yes.
have any input. I think I've said a mouthful so far.
Just what you explained there and going through, which what is Nevis is basically responsible for in terms of education or anything else and stuff like that. Just like when it comes to the clause 113, where once in a while one might start to cry and coming up to me to hear certain advocates of certain parties speak about secession, or I myself speak about secession. Well, up to now, no one ever explained if this have to happen, how will both islands get along? So just like how you're explaining, people should learn this thing. They need to come. This happen when it comes to the island have to separate in the far future and near future. How will they coexist? And no political people explain this thing, but yet they throw it down the out in the opening and with their emotions, but they yet to explain well how would they function. And this is why you see we having these podcasts, because I don't want to be an ordinary podcaster like everybody else. I want feel like once information is given to people, they can make a proper decision. Okay, let me say this. I want to big up my virgin Shabazz, electrician, big up yourself. We have some conversation at festival. Yeah, I have to big up the folks them in New Mexico, Brown and roll by the Nevis restaurant over there in New Mexico, and all the folks in Anguilla. Folks come down from Virginia and all over the different places, Cameroon, Ghana, Nigeria. I met so much people and different nationalities from all over the world. Canada, amazing. So it's like this. I had a good conversation with Virgin Shabazz, and Shabazz telling me, well, St. Martin is a duty free port. So we say, well, how come this can be a duty free port too? So why only a certain class gonna get be and said to be a duty free port and all these things? In asking nothing. Oh, you're gonna tell me St. Martin as an example of duty free port when you know the whole of Nevis now be a duty free port? You see, this is why education is important, because speaking out of emotion, because when you're going to speak to someone and tell me this kind of crap, me entertaining it, carry whole of St. Martin benefit from the duty free port. That's the whole point. So I'm an individual not going to benefit from the Judith report. The destiny who live in this are going to benefit. So how will that benefit the people, the regular people of Nevis? And when you hear people speak like this, suppose and we say educated people, well, this make no sense to me. How can this make sense? So, boss, money is me. Can you force this? Can you go and say, well, they have a big development? Well, we have been development too. We invest in too, so you can't say that. But these are what we have to do within our society. Okay?
So destiny
Either way
is
this
bringing,
goes, you know,
yeah, destiny
I'm
is
saying,
bringing, yeah, they're
okay,
saying destiny is
I'm
bringing
saying,
development. So
yeah,
they
yes.
deserve to have duty concession, but they are the people with the money. So how come the rich people who can afford to pay duty would get, and then the poor people have to bear the burden to pay all those taxes to still end up helping the rich people? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, you speak
And
about transparency, and this is why I bring in something like this as an
yeah,
example. You see, because where is the transparency in this? So this is where you comes in. You see what I mean? Because you wanna be a represent want to represent the people. So this is because we gotta be either way this thing goes. The people are divided already. You see what I mean? They're already divided because what they see is their party staying in power, or the party getting in power. So either way, and then Yahsonn chosen about Honduras. I want them, not Honduras. That's where they have the place. Is there they had built the next the one?
Yeah,
Is
Honduras.
Honduras the place? Okay,
Yeah.
good. Well, yeah. And then the government in power, and then the one come out with they don't want the same project and stuff like. I look around and observe my island every day where we have access to all the beaches and all these different, and we don't use the beaches so much, and they have some homes close to the beach. They end up and feel like the beach are their money, because we don't use these beaches because it's our, we know it's ours. You see what I mean? But I see we losing everything because we have lost ourselves and pushing tourism and to everything. We're fighting for land, fighting for land space. And I need to hear politicians and people who want to be upcoming politics about land policies. When it comes to anything over 20 acres going to be sold to non-nationals. No, you can't buy this land at 10 acres or whatever. We got to put things in place. We need to hear Four Seasons start paying taxes. I need to see villas and private areas next to the beach when they have access to vehicle going down on the beach and walkway like Paradiso and Four Seasons and them. I should be we're supposed to have vehicle access and all these things. So every place supposed to public access. Ministry Four Seasons gone on. Ministry Four Seasons gone on. So I can look at these things too. So nobody escaping these kind of things. And I want to see Four Seasons and start pay tax. Can my wife just sub my light bill and I said $100 and something a bit. She tell me gone a little. With a vex of face, can tell vex, kind of supposed to be the kind of car surcharge, got it up there. Should be in the 3 something and little under 300. Me last youth a 6, So me not tap talk. Me last youth a 6.
yeah,
Okay?
all right.
Well,
So
Bankie,
by time we reach, yes.
what I would like to know, because like you mentioned, right? We sometimes hear, like I listened to another talk show earlier on today. One of the things that they were pointing out is that sometimes here on St. Kitts and Nevis, you have the situation where those who are in the opposition, those who are seeking to get in, they have a lot of stories and they have a lot of plans that they want to do. But then when they get in, some of these same things that they campaign on and campaign claiming that they're going to do, when they get in, it seems as if there's some sort of sudden amnesia, or they just forgot what they said that they were campaigning on, and then all of these same issues are still on the table. I hear you talk about the Constitution, Miss Maloney. Um, we have some of the top lawyers in position. I mean, Nevis, for example, one of the top lawyers. He says he's one of the brightest scholars, who is a lawyer, but he claims also that, that not even a comma has been changed in the Constitution. And he, along with many of the other leaders who we have had as lawyers as well, and have as lawyers as well, claim that the Constitution is flawed. As a matter of fact, I would have heard Mr. Sam Conda in recent times saying that the Constitution is not even worth the paper it is written on. And none of them has made any conscious attempt to adjust or amend anything in the Constitution when they know what the process or processes are to do it. So if they really want to and really wanted to do it, then they would do what is necessary in terms of educating the public to, whether it's a two-thirds majority they need or whatever it is, to get the people to be aligned so that they vote along these lines and not along party and partisan lines and so on. So the essence of it, though, is what is it that you intend to do differently in regards to addressing some of these things that you have brought to the fore?
What saddens me, and I'm going to be honest, and people might say, if you don't do this, you're not going to win the election. In fact, today I was talking to someone and they said to me, if you want to win, in most cases, I guess they were trying to, as they say, feel me out. But this is what the individual said to me. If you want to win an election, you have to learn how to lie. You have to make empty promises because people like empty promises. You promise them this, you promise them that, and they buy into it. You appeal to their emotion, right? And so they buy into it and they vote for you because of the promises. That is why I'm taking the time out to do my research on federal election and the Constitution. Because we sometimes get confused as to when you're campaigning in a federal election, what is the responsibility of the administration, the Nevis Island administration, and what is the responsibility of the federal government? Nevis has a lot of autonomy over some ministries and stuff like that, so they have that responsibility. We cannot go into a federal election promising the world unless we know exactly what we are talking about, and we have to be practical. Because as a federal minister, you're not going down to sink it to serve Nevis only. We have to also mention and let the people know that because Sink it does not have an island administration like Nevis, if you become a part of the federal government, you naturally will be the minister that serve in some kind of ministry in Sink it, and then you look out for Nevis. So you can't be making promising the world to Nevis and you're not really sure what your ministry might be or what it would entail. The most you can do is when you go to cabinet to fight for Nevis. I seem like the Constitution was written since 1983, and of course, person might say it is flawed. One of the things that persons question, why does Nevis administration and think, right? And so you find Nevians participating in 2 elections while Sink only participating in 1, and they will say that is flawed. Why nobody change it? Why nobody is making an attempt to change anything? That's on the most I can say the answer is blowing in the wind. I don't like to, I am very careful as to what I would promise, what I'm going to say, because I have to be certain that if I say something, then I should be able to deliver, right? And that is why I'm taking the time now to learn the Constitution, what it entails. So when I come to the people now, I can say, okay, after learning this, after going through that, this is my views on that, and that is what I might be able to do. Rather than coming out and say, oh, I'm going to do in property and I'm going to do that just because it sounds good and I want to vote. I want it to be meaningful. I want it to be real, practical, and something that all of us can be a part of. The people now have, sometimes the politician might come and make you feel like they can move the world. And they're not telling you and they're not empowering the people to think that it's not them to move the world. All of us are in this thing together because the people also part of the government. And the people have a right to transparency, they have a right to decision making. But sometimes they're not given the opportunity to. After they finish voting, then they're cast aside and government think, oh well, I can do whatever I want because you put me there to represent. I don't have to tell you this, I don't have to do this. And then next time around, they come with some lies or some promises and we vote for them again.
So you think you'll be able to change that? Because a lot of some of the issues that we are faced with today are stemming from some of the things that you just point out. The politicians feel that they don't need to really consult with us because the argument that they're presenting is that the fact that we would have, well, those who would have voted for them overwhelmingly, and so which means that we have given them a mandate. Sometimes to me a lot of that need to be clarified because, for example, I question from this regard, right? Let's say, for example, there's 5,000 people on Nevis who is eligible to vote, and let's say only 1,000 voted when they have an election. Whoever win maybe got 600, the other one got 400. I'm just using figures, right? Um, okay, the one who got 600 is the one who win. Well, technically, are they really speaking for the masses of the people? Are they speaking for, well, the masses of the people who actually took part in what they consider to be an election? Because they only got 600 out of the possible 5,000 who could vote. But that 600 out of the 1,000 that actually voted are the ones who put them in position. So when we talk of democracy and overwhelming um, um, desire from the people for them to lead us, I mean, are they really genuine statements, or how do you view that based on the scenario that I presented and in terms of your personal view and in regards to that?
Well, the politician, whether or not 600 person voted for you or the whole, you still have the responsibility to serve the people of the federation, right? And the people also have a responsibility to also vote. So if you do not go out to vote, what is that saying? Because you get fed up with the system, you don't want to politician anymore, so you decide that you want to vote. And then when a decision is made, now you have, should you be saying, making any fuss about who is put there when you had the opportunity to cast ballot and you did not do it? But beside that, the owners, the minister or the executive body of the government still has the responsibility to look over everybody. And their leadership is not about making decisions. As I mentioned before, leadership is about explaining decisions. Right?
One of the questions I want to ask, even pertaining to the federal government, you still have large number of planes going to be flying in and out to support these elections and stuff like that. What policies, how do you feel about putting policy where one should be on the island, whether it's federal or local? For one, feel like if you want to take part in an election, feel the squeeze, water and everyone count to cut off, you should be here for at least a year. 6 months, not even cut it for me. You want to be here to take part and make decision, whatever it is, instead of just flying in and coming in and go. Yes, we're going to say you'll be paying taxes, but the reality is, if you ain't here and making decisions, just fly out, some never, it's just a mixture. And at the same time, who getting all this money? Airlines, hotel. You just booking hotels and rental cars and stuff like that. All those money should have been really put into other places where it can benefit a lot of infrastructure and part in the schools and stuff like that. A lot of the toiletries or whatever it is where they don't have and chalks and goes into some of the money goes into sport instead of being wasting on a lot of these airlines from flying them from all over the world, from all over the globe, bringing them here. What is your views on that?
There's some countries that would have put that in place. You have to be there for at least 1 year in order for you to vote. The thing about it, Bankie, one person, there are two definitions of politics. One is a struggle for power. and the other is to be able to argue or influence persons to help you in making life better for other persons. Meaning, for me, I would want that, what you said, at least to be in the country for a year. I would have to be able to do that influential or to argue the point so convincingly so that if I'm in cabinet, that other cabinet members would be also willing to make that change. Because, you know, in cabinet, there's normally a vote. So even if you won, just say, no, 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 might not be sufficient for to bring about that change. But you must be able to convince the other person about that table. Hello, we need to do this because this is the right thing to do, and it would we will get fairer elections if we do that. So I will have to work on my communication skills and be able to communicate things to the point where I can really get others to come up to help make those changes. So I'm not going to say, oh, well, I can do it because I alone won't be able to make that decision. The cabinet, it will have to be a vote, as I mentioned, and more persons in cabinet would have to be willing to say yes. Let's vote for that, and so that the change.
It is obvious that when we look at what's going on here, is that a lot of the decision makers, when it comes to election, because in reality, most less people vote than in the population. In election, all the masses don't vote. That is just a small percentage making the decision for the masses. And but especially Nevis and St. Kitts is niche. Can Antigua, these policies are already in place, and St. Vincent and stuff like that. But here, you carry come national to be here for a year. They're eligible to vote. We're not going here and going to Dominica and other Caribbean countries voting. But then, because their countries are exporting people, because their countries is been underrun by poor minimum wage and poor development. So those leaders are failing their people. Because Dominicans are supposed to leave their flock in St. Kitts Nevis and people from St. Vincent. If their country, if doing good, they should up their minimum wage like St. Kitts Nevis doing. So it shows a lot CARICOM is failing their people. They really are. So those countries are just like China, just in the Caribbean, exporting their people to our country. That's what's happening. So this free movement of people on CMSME is not benefiting us. You see, it's not benefit. This is like what happened going on with this destiny. That's why I tell Shabazz our population is increasing by people who look like us, which is fine. But at the same time, it is still bad for their country. It shows they fail in their country. So I had to make that example to him. I look at all aspect of it. Pure management, how they're looking at it, and how they're managing these countries. They're canning us. And my way of looking at things is being realistic. Okay? I want the best for these all Caribbean countries. But what we have is a system that is put in place where, and the UN, and a lot of these things is a lot of corrupt. You have to follow these policies, and the leaders of them is not willing to say no to the big boys and them. So a lot of the things that they say when they reach in there is that the status and them plus the investors and them who are around them who take money, because there is no transparency when it comes to who give money, how much they give, and all these things. We have no transparency in all these things. We're not serious. I mean, not you, but I'm just talking in general. Huh?
You're talking in terms of campaign funding.
Yes, of course.
I just wanted to clarify
These are issues I want. These are issues I want to hear when they're speaking, not cussing each other. I'm not in this debate. No, I want to hear issues, policies. Be coming about, because who paid the piper call the tune? Who paid the piper call the tune? Because when people giving you things, these people want back something.
Well, Bankie, I am very much interested in hearing some more of the things that Ms. Meloney intend to inform us about, highlight in terms of for the public to be aware of, and give the public an opportunity to see that she is going to be somebody who is different in the political arena, and if that different person that you're looking for just might be her. And so I'm going to give you the opportunity again, Miss Meloney, to get into some of the other things that you would want to inform us on and update us on. So the floor is yours.
Okay, looking forward, when we ask, I'm not gonna be, when we ask, how can Nevis maximize the benefits of being part of the federal state? I believe that the answer is not simply by demanding more. We hear about this fair share thing a lot. It is by making better use of what the Constitution has already provided. Strong representation, strong partnership, strong accountability, strong communication, strong institution, most importantly, strong leadership. And so as I conclude, there's so much I am trying not to go off on a tangent here. And like I say, I'm hoping that I will have the opportunity to come back to say more about what the Constitution is saying about the federal election. It is sometimes you hear we seem like we forget the seriousness of the federal election. There's a government, there's an administration, they're supposed to work together. So sometimes we see the prime minister and the premier in a picture, whoever put up the picture for whatever reason, we start to get emotional. We start seeing it as CCM and Labour working together as opposed to seeing the prime minister, who is the head of the government, and the premier, who is the head of the Nevis Island administration, that they have to meet and discuss issues regarding Nevis and by extension St. Kitts. So we got emotional over that and we put the politics in it, and something like who put on a red suit and who wear blue tie and who went to who convention, and those things take precedence over the seriousness of the government and the island administration working together. We have the issue of which is a discussion as to why somebody who is in the Nevis Island, if you're a minister in the Nevis Island administration, then you also become a minister cabinet. And of course, we would have discussed if it is feasible for persons to be effective in executing their job well in the federal and also the Nevis Island administration. So that is something.
That is quite interesting, and I think that is a good point for us to probably get back at. I think at this point we probably will do a commercial break. We'll take a commercial break and hear from our sponsors, and then when we come back, we're going to give you a chance to finish your thought, and then we're going to also open up the phone lines for those who may want to call in, and we'll probably go through some of the questions and comments on the wall. So, folks, we're going to take a break, and then we'll be back.
At Shabazz Organics, we believe real people deserve real food. So we're bringing you to Mansa's Last Stop, a farm where food barriers are removed and legacy is sustained. We believe there's power in picking, so we allow you to decide what leaves the farm and enters your kitchen organically.
Beat the summer heat, come and get your carambola, star fruit, make very nice drink. Come pick them yourself. All the trees them full of vitamin C, antioxidant, build up your immune system. Mine's the last stop. A whole shopping bag only $10. Half a shopping bag you pay $5. If you get $2, you must get some. Come get your carambola. Don't want to go to wait. Let's go, people.
When comfort, class, and reliability matter, choose the ride that delivers more. Imperial Rides Transportation Services, where every journey is treated like royalty, from airport transfers, private events, shopping trips, island tours, and executive travel. Imperial Rides moves you in style. Clean, comfortable, on time, every time. Book your premium taxi or tour service today. Call or WhatsApp 869-665-8459 or email elandflavas@gmail.com. Imperial Rides Transportation Services. Your journey, our priority.
And you just tell them that we sent you, the good folks here on Real Entertainment Network on the Topics. Tell them at Island, the Water Sports, and On the Rocks that we sent you. And definitely they might just be putting in something extra for you. All right. So remember to tell them that you heard about them here on the Topics and on Real Entertainment Network. So good evening. I want to say good evening to all of you who are logged on, whether you're logged on via the Facebook link or the YouTube platform or Twitch TV. We are broadcasting or streaming simulcast via Twitch TV, Facebook, and YouTube. And we want to encourage you, whichever one of the platforms you're on, subscribe, click on the notification bell. And we want to encourage you to, if you're on Facebook, go on over, take 10 seconds, go on over and subscribe to the YouTube platform. We're looking to increase the numbers and our visibility. And the more you like it, and the more you subscribe to it, the more the algorithms pick it up, and then the more people would see, and the more, we would, get out there, and that's what we're hoping for. So we're not asking you for money, we're just asking you to subscribe. It just takes a click, a couple of seconds with your finger, and that's about it, all right? We're gonna get back Miss Meloney with her pointers, but we're gonna take a few seconds to get into some of the comments on the wall so that you could get to realize as well what the people are, the energy that the people are getting so far. And then we're going to give out the number as well for folks to call in. So maybe I could give out the number at least now so people can think about it. So the number, if you want to call in to be on the program, it will be 1-869-662-7196. That's 1-869-662-7196, and they're sliding across the screens, but the active one that you would get is 662-7196. The other number, when you call it, when I try to put it on speaker, it doesn't sound that loud. I would try it, but you would be more secure getting 662-7196. So let's go through the comments. Oliver Libert says, hi, good night. That's Ollie, the honey man who produces some of the local honey over there in St. Peter's and St. Kitts. Says, hi, good night, Kings. And Miss Janette Meloney, also in the house tonight. Joy King says, good night to all watching from Atlanta. Carla Paris says, hi, family. We are not seeing any visuals. Can you check it out so we can participate more fully with you? And good night to Real Entertainment Network, our devoted host. I'm not sure, maybe you needed to refresh your page or something, because I am seeing us on Facebook and I'm seeing us on YouTube. So I'm not certain about that, but if so, I would have the technician check it out. I think the technician is listening, and that would have been some time ago, though. So I'm hopeful. If anything, Carlisle, you could comment and let us know if, if you are seeing us and everything is all right. All right, my brethren. Slaughterhouse says greetings and love, kings and queen. C.
Yes,
Gaskell
sir.
says all happy to be in your what is this here now? This thing is frozen, but it's esteemed presence once more. Looking forward to
Yes,
learning
sir.
the caring and wise Miss Maloney. All right. So on the Facebook side now, we have Kevin Hanley saying good night, Bankie and Yahsonn. Greetings,
Good night,
Kevin.
Kevin.
Hope everything is blessed with you. Hope you did wonderful on your exams, and I guess you're preparing for a wonderful vacation. So just stay positive as usual, as I always encourage you, and continue to be that helpful and wonderful young man that you're going into being. Vilena Ali says good evening all. Celeste says love me some Miss Maloney. Original lyrics says blessed evening Tafari. Good listener, big respect, my brethren Bankie. Steve Mills
Yes,
says,
sir,
good
my
night,
brethren.
young lady, good night.
Night.
Blackin Seti says, so true, Bankie. Steve Mills says, I understand the concept of a third party, but if you happen to win, do you have the people to fill the foreign position outside the country? And if not, then what? Okay, I guess that question was kind of directed to you. You want me to repeat it? You're good with it. It was saying, I understand the concept of a third party, but if you happen to win, do you have the people to fill the foreign position outside the country? And if not, then what?
I'm not
And
hoping.
it says, huh? Go ahead, go ahead.
Sorry. I'm not hoping to
Right,
establish a party right now. So, if it's anything, there will be a movement, and the people would be. I expect that the community will be part of the movement to make things better for all of us. But I'm not considering establishing any party right now.
Okay, great. Steve, that's the response to your query or your question. Anik Morton says, yes, it's good when the Prime Minister and the Premier are working together, but they must remember he is the opposition leader. He's not in the federal cabinet. Okay, that's another topic of
He's
discussion.
also he might not be in the federal cabinet, but he's a leader of the Nevis Island administration who falls within the government.
Okay, hold a second, right? Because I think that's a very valid point. I'm going to come back to it, but I'm just going to make, because there's only one more comment we have here on the wall, so I'll just read it and let's get back to that comment. Steve Murray says, NRP did the best job with little. CCM got a lot and squandered it. That will you and your party do differently if elected? And how will you deal with the debt that has been accumulated by CCM NIA government? Okay, so Steve, earlier she would have just mentioned that she's not planning to have a party per se right now. She's just going to be running as an independent candidate. If she's successful, and or if even as she's running, there is that momentum and the people says, okay, well, we're supporting you, and we are going to come on board on all of these, then more things would be fall into line. But at this point, she's just presenting herself as the as the person who who is considering running as an independent candidate. Okay, now back to the point that you made, because it is something that I do hear a lot in political circles, and I'm glad that you are actually taking the time out to go through some of these issues, going through the Constitution and trying to highlight some of these points, because I think that is very critical that you singled out. So yes, there's the Prime Minister, yes, there's the Premier, and we have to understand that it is one government and it's a government, and as you pointed out, an administration. However, whatever is done on Nevis still has implications for the federal government or the overall government. So at the end of the day, Dr. Drew still, whoever it is, I'm just saying Dr. Jew at this point because he is a sitting prime minister. But Dr. Jew or any other prime minister is still obliged to pay attention to what is happening in Nevis to some extent. And it would be in the best interest to have a cordial relationship with whoever is the leader of the island at the time. So whoever is the premier, whether you're in opposition of the government or whatever it is, that there is that level of diplomacy that is expected where the leadership of the country is concerned, or the leadership of the islands are concerned. So, yeah, politically, they may be opposing, but when it comes to the running of the country and the issues in running the country, they have to have that at least diplomatic relation. I think the people need to understand that. We have a ticklish situation, though, in relation to the fact that Premier being the opposition leader and cannot necessarily, well, in terms of representing Nevis in the way that the opposition leader should, and representing the federation as the opposition leader should, there's some challenges where that is concerned. So yes, all of these are things where I guess maybe constitution amendment and changes need to be addressed and some. But Bankie, yes, you were going to ask a question.
You're speaking where the federal government have obligation, where they still have to look at Nevis in some cases, because Nevis don't exist without St. Kitts, St. Kitts don't exist without Nevis. So why the Prime Minister don't visit Nevis, where there is, and have an office in Nevis itself, where, and all this different stuff.
Bankie,
So this thing don't make no sense.
Technically, there is an office in Nevis. You know, the federal office is the Prime Minister's office. It is
not technically. No,
okay, sorry.
It never visited Nevis.
Let me not say technically.
It's there to take down paper. It's there to put on paper.
He doesn't come over here to sit in the office, but the federal office is the office of the Prime Minister. So the problem that we have
then
is
the whole water. Me not whole one because it not function. If something not function,
don't change the fact.
Yeah,
it is a fact.
I understand that, but the reality, his job is to come over to Nevis and meet people who do the same thing in St. Kitts, and he now fulfill that part. So he's failing with that part. Okay, and it's been happening for years. And in these times here, we have to hold
accountable. The people need to hold them accountable.
And also the Premier and the Cabinet of Nevis has responsibility to let the same Prime Minister knows these things. We got to change these things, Virgin.
Yeah, we
otherwise,
have to stop
I waste my time having this conversation. You see what I mean? I'm not going to keep coming here having this conversation where intelligent people who love to boast the 98% and 100% literacy and all these simple things that supposed to be in place is not in place, my Virgin. I'm a tangible person, a realistic person now. And I don't like to waste time repeating myself over and over. I'm not going to do it. Because you have people who are going to come here and say, not even a comma being changed, and you have scholars, QCs, and all kind of C's and all kind of alphabet letters. And we say, we have to talk how things these people are and how much schooling they have. I want to say so build all them mills and monument on you so. Still wiser than them with all these papers that they have. They don't have common sense. Us. And as Mr. Paris said, are we the problem? And as Mr. all the time, we entertain these things. I don't make excuses for myself, so I'm not excuses for these brilliant minds that we say we have. I, for one, don't think to govern us, you know. We can govern ourselves. I, for one, see that way. And if we're going to have government, we have government that is inclusive. Okay? Government that will include the people. We don't have this government around here. What we have is what they say, we give them a mandate. So let's talk to us. So we got to change these things. There's a call coming in. Let me take this call. Caller, good evening.
Hi, good evening, Bankie and to Miss Maloney. The Constitution has been a sore point from the inception of this Constitution. The thing about it is the Labour had a whole lot to say about it when they came into office, and even before they came in. But they were in office for 20 years, and they did absolutely nothing to change it. I, for one, had a problem early with the Constitution, because I felt, and I still believe, that if we are a federation and we are having a federal election that involves people of St. Kitts and the people of Nevis, my argument was and still is that whosoever commands the majority seats on the island of Nevis should automatically be a part of the government, since we are in a federal election. How is it that we have a federal elections and the seats on Nevis, and you have to join in a collision with somebody for Nevis seats to be in a parliament? It should be since we are having an election. Now, there was a discussion also about overseas voting. I do not have any problem with citizens of the Federation who lives outside of the Federation taking part in our elections. We have a problem is that we don't have persons who are in residency, which were living here for 12 months, and they were allowed to vote in elections. Some of those persons have sold out, packed up, and leave for some of the distant land. But you find that they are still eligible to vote in our elections, and I think that is wrong. I have been an objector to names that are on the voters list who I knew for a fact would have sold out everything that they owned on Nevis and left. Others, they were living here and they moved and they gone to different countries to live. And I was told that the name cannot be from left them miss 2 consecutive elections. And so you find some people who control the machinery. They have them where this one, these 2 or these 10 is going to come in and vote till election. 10 and this 20 will come in and vote in another election. I believe that is unjust because they are not citizens. They are no longer resident on the island of St. Kitts or Nevis. They have gone. And so that is something that needs to be looked at. Now, my bigger problem is this. The Prime Minister, present Prime Minister, before he became the Prime Minister, 5 years back, he's in office about 4 years now, he protested about the corruption that was in the He spoke about he has boxes and boxes of people of sham marriage where people came in, sham marriage to top up the election, the voters list. He's the Prime Minister now for 4 years, going about 4 years. He has done nothing about it. But in 2022, he made a whole lot of noise. There was an election in August. And the noise was about having IDs to vote in our elections. And we know that going back a long way. But he still presides over an election on the island of Nevis in December of the same 2022. And allow an election to take place in Nevis with no voter ID. And so we see, even at the top of the leadership, they are corrupt. Because when it suits them, the process is bad. And when it doesn't suit them, the process is bad. Or whatever the case may be. So an injustice was done to us, the people of Nevis, in the last election that we had in Nevis, when our federal government and our Nevis Island administration, along with the supervisor of election, allowed an election and sanctioned an election in Nevis without voter IDs when the regulation specified that there must be IDs to vote in our elections. And so I'm listening to Ms. Meloney, I like where her heart is in terms of looking forward that we need to understand what's going on in our country. I myself am now motivated by her to go get me a copy of the Constitution and start to sit down and read it and to know what is my rights and what the Constitution dictates for us as citizens of the country. And so, again, thanks for the information, but our governments, they are taking us for a ride, and we as citizens need to take back our country. Too many of us are refusing to take part in the electoral process, and we must keep in mind, whether or not we participate in the process at the end of the day will have consequences that will affect every one of us. And so it behoves us who are qualified to vote to go out and to register our rights one way or the other, sending a message to whoever wants us to elect them into office. Thank you.
Thank you, caller.
The caller would have addressed a number of points, and some of the things, though, would be quite controversial to some extent. Like the point about the Nevisians who are successful in terms of the federal election be automatically a part of the federal construct is quite interesting, because at this point, something I guess we have to look at the Constitution and I guess how things play out in the Constitution, because technically the Nevisian parties have the option of running the other 8 seats on St. Kitts as well, and so the Nevisians, if they want to, can literally attempt to manage the federation if they want to. So there is that legal, so to speak, option, and that is why I think there's a new party on St. Kitts who's seeking to run the 11 seats as they are, seeking to proclaim. So there's that aspect of it that we still have to consider when we look at these things. So we have to look at these things in a more holistic approach. I see there's a caller coming in. I don't know if the caller is for the program, but if the caller is for the program, we could let the caller in, Bankie. If the caller is for the program,
Yes.
we could let
Caller, good evening.
Good evening, Brother Bankie. Good evening, Yahsonn. And good evening to Janette.
Good evening.
I have a couple of questions to ask Janette. First of all, I am happy that I'm looking at an independent candidate, and automatically you have my support. I am also an independent candidate in the federal kits. I'm chancing number 8. And my goal is for the people. It's not about get rich, what I can get. Any independent that decided to enter into this election, I will collaborate. I will rate and many others. Any independent party or party except Labour. I have recognized the debt and the kleptocratic behavior, and they will not stop. And are you over into Nevis or are you in St. Kitts? I'm just seeing you, I just heard a little speck. If you're Nevis, I pray that you will convince the people to vote and put you in office to make a change. I believe humble and I quote, support you. I am a Nubian, born in, grew up in Nevis. I grew up in Gingerland, Giant Village.
Carla, you say you want to ask a question, right? I didn't think you asked a question yet.
Well, I introduced myself. Okay. Moving forward, what is your mantra for this election, independent candidate moving forward? I will pick person one. Thank you.
My mantra.
Okay, Carla gone.
Wow. Yahsonn and Bankie. That is why I said initially that is it's not official, and I'm still, it's a work in anyway. For now, it is birthed out of our motto, country's motto, country above self, and I would say serving people, building nation.
Okay, and that I think it's a wonderful mantra. I mean,
Because the one that exists now is not appropriate. It's a country above self. It's like today at this is at the graduation, a young lady singing but everybody have their own when they should change it to how they want, how they do the American national anthem. So it's like how you know to sing it is like when you hear it singing different, you know, well, you know it's half. You see what I mean? So certain things should just be sing how we're supposed to sing, but people change up things so much. So in that kind of ways, motto don't exist. It's a motto, but we're not living by it. Country above self. It's self above everything else. That's what it is. That motto just don't exist.
Well, thank you, caller, and I wish for you the same success in your endeavor as well.
Go ahead.
I wanted to go back to something, Yahsonn, that the individual would have stated that, well, I don't want to quote, but something to the fact that the Premier and the Prime Minister do not have to work together because the Premier is not in cabinet. But I just want to remind the general public of listeners that the federal government is the national government responsible for matters assigned to it under the Constitution. So there are some foreign affairs, national security, the police. The federal government is responsible for the nationals, including the police that serve in Nevis, citizenship, immigration, international relations, national finance, and national. So there must be some kind of discussion. And the Nevis Island government, the Constitution established the Nevis Island, administration, not government. It gives the administration responsibility for many local matters, including education, health, labor, fisheries, airports, and seaport. But the Constitution does not create a second sovereign government. It creates an administration, and so therefore the administration, the Nevis Island administration, exists within the Federation. So whether the Premier is in opposition or cabinet, yes or not, there are times when he and the Prime Minister will have some kind of discussion regarding the affairs of Nevis, whether it's related to foreign affairs, national security, citizenship, immigration, something, right? So please, we should not mix matters in terms of party politics, as opposed to the government and the Nevis Island administration working together.
One of the things that complicating the situation here, where, as you can see, it is very strange, where how you can run Nevis and still oppose when you should be working with the Prime Minister. Over the years, that is usually when they're in opposition, you're opposing. That is where to hold the federal government, the government that is in power. But it is not happening right now with this situation with the Premier. And before this happened, I know this would have happened because the host this is a malicious move, take that position, but because of what happened on the community and the breaking up and the falling out, that position is not given to Mr. Harris or Sean Richards, Alexis Jeffers, or Eric Evelyn. He didn't have to take it. This is not no coincidence why this thing is happening. And that is why you see people can look and say, well, which hat you're holding? Because you listen to the House of Assembly, you hear no rebuttal. It's just the opposition belt. You hear I voting. You going along with it. This is unique, as the song say. Only in Christopher, is really in a strange place. So this is why they call us them and some of the viewers looking at in this aspect, because we had this situation like this before, in a sense like this. Okay, we have a call coming in. Yes, again, take this call.
Yeah, man, take the call.
Caller, good evening. Welcome to the topics.
Good evening, Bankie and Yahsonn. Good evening, Miss Meloney Nisbett. How are you?
Yes.
Good to hear your voice, Glendale Herbert. And I'm basically calling in to basically advise you and advise the larger public listening and looking of the march that's coming up on Friday, actually, Friday 4 p.m., starting at the Alexander Hamilton, sponsored by Nevis Civil Society. I'm going to a reliable gas station, coming back with culminates, at the Wallowing Plaza. Hopefully, the march ends at 6 p.m., starts at 4. We're hoping to have at least an hour plus at the where they'll be around. As of now, based on all feedback we've been getting, we're getting a lot as far as Texas, as far as London, people calling, people have a great interest in this match. We're hoping that people come out, bring your placards, bring your, however you want to express yourself as it relates to no to this or no to transparency. We invite you. It is important to send a message. It is important for people to see your foot on the ground. One of the things I keep saying, Bankie and Yahsonn, and of course Ms. Meloney, is that years from now, when the history books is written, the question will be asked, where were you as it relates to this event? Or where were you as it relates to destiny, should destiny happen? And I think that's a very important question for people to ponder. So I think it's imperative that people come out and people say, look at this occasion as an occasion in which they can register their actual position or thinking as it relates to what's happening in the country.
Christian, well, you're here. Is the match is specific about destiny, or the match include other affairs, whether it's the economy in Nevis, whether it's the high cost of electricity bill, cannabis, or is it specifically towards destiny?
Well, yes, that's a good question, Bankie. The match was designed to be an anti-destiny match, lack of transparency match. But people do have issues, a lot of other issues they will wish to express themselves with, and I do think all those issues contend as to where we are right now, the state of the economy, yes, and all the rest that you just mentioned are important issues that should be reflected in the match. If you want to wave placard, bring a placard, your shirts, expressing those themes, that is just as good. But ultimately, it seems to be the biggest thing that hovers over us in terms of a cloud. I keep saying to people over and over, I have not seen an issue in this country since 1971-72, which was secession at all costs, that has had the legs and the penetration in terms of information and amongst the people, in terms of media and etc. In terms of has taken over the attention of the people for the last 12 months. This has been the singular issue that has moved the needle, I think.
And the next question is, on all the radio shows, and I heard DJ Marisha mention about the same match in collaboration with you guys. Is their collaboration, or is two separate match, or is the same match?
It is the same match, but let me set the record straight. I had reached out to DJ Marisha in the match, in a conversation on phone. and I asked him to see that he had experience in acquiring permits, and he pretty much told me he can do it, and he can guarantee that we will get the permit for the 10th, which is, we knew there was a rush to get this match on, and he said permits for us. He asked me for the brief as to how it should be written to the police department. I submitted the brief to him, Nevis Civil Society, with etc. I sent it to him. He acquired the permit. It's our march. We spend all the monies. We're doing everything. Civil society in itself is doing as an acquired, in terms of putting everything forward. All, like I said, all is invited, and all is invited to participate. I have had the conversation with Mr. Marsh, and he has agreed. He told me that he likes to be in the background in our conversation, so he's agreed to do that. And he also has told me, in addition to that his own role, that as he sees himself, which he just wants to do, his recording or whatever he does, in our conversation that is on phone. So it's not, the civil society, the match here held in Nevis, I expressed to him it's a Nevis match, it's in Nevis, and Nevis is a very ticklish issue as it relates to Nevis. And having, so though we are one country, there are certain nuances and there are certain customs that we've grown accustomed to in Nevis, vice versa, and we've accepted. Spoken or unspoken, they exist. And hopefully he understands that.
And the next question is, to the final spot where you're going to stop and they come to, is it an open mic? What is expected? Any politician or just civil society, civilians and not politicians? What is expected? Who are the speakers that is planned to be spoken at?
We've cataloged a number of speakers. We're trying to nail them down, narrow them down, because time is of the essence. We can only give so much time for people to speak. We have not finalized the final cut on the speakers yet at this point. Once a civil society or civil rights generally, you don't have politicians with civil rights marches or civil society generally. This might be a unique situation to some extent. As you know, and I know, and everybody knows, the talent pool is limited. But at the same time, also I would also say that it may be vital that maybe political actors maybe can be invited. I'm sure, particular as a show. It's something being considered against everybody unifying against their destiny. Not no one party. All ideas contain, all people contain, that if you have an opportunity and you have something to say that we do think is meaningful and speak towards the program, we're not against necessarily shunning you or putting you off. But again, the final cut has not been made yet. So that will be maybe in Thursday. We'll have the final cut.
All right. Before you go again, you want to give the information when is the march coming up, where they're going to start, and where the route is, and where they're going to start the speeches and stuff like that.
The march starts at 4 p.m. at the Alexander Hamilton Museum, heading south towards Reliable.
This is this Friday?
This is Friday at 4 p.m.
Okay.
And it goes to as far as Reliable, back to the Walwyn Square, where we stop, and that's where our rally begins. And that's, pretty much where the...
And final question.
At 6 p.m. it ends.
And final question for those who overseas who want to partake by viewing, there will be any viewing and any YouTube and anything like that, Facebook streaming?
Yes. Bankie, it will be live stream on all platforms, I'm told, particularly YouTube. Wish for all this to be taken to take place, I think, and even on your platform it will be live stream on Real Entertainment, I think it is.
Okay.
We'll be carrying it live as well. A few others will be carrying it well. I think DJ Marshall might be carrying in his thing as well, and a few other platforms I heard, but I'm not sure about that part yet, fully. And I'm convinced I know about what I just said to you before in terms of the live streams.
Okay, well, I guess those who listen overseas they can tune into Real Entertainment Network. When the time comes, we give more detail on that. So I'll communicate with the technician so he can put these things out. All right, well, anything before you go? Thanks for calling and giving an update.
It was a pleasure including with you guys. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Bye. Yahsonn?
Yeah, quite interesting. I mean, I think that I am loving the level of discourse that Ms. Meloney is bringing to the table, and I think the people are quite intrigued as well. A lot of the issues along the Constitution and some of the issues that are being brought up. I love the way that she's taking her time to simplify them to some extent as well. I think there are things.
Coming in here again.
Right, let the call come in. I think there are things that we do need to discuss, but at times, because we always start up with party politics. Let's get take the caller.
Caller, good evening.
Yes, I wish I could have posed a question due to seeing that gentleman was given the rundown on the match. Now, yes, we are overseas. Is there an interaction like Bankie? See how we could come in, broadcast our conversation? Is there establishment as such? Because I personally really like to give a speech. I'm not a guest, but as a support of such thing, and to hear overseas voice, if we can interact.
Well, I think you can communicate with the organizers and whatever you can send a recording and they can play it. Something can figure it out, can be figured out. A video message or something like that. You get in contact with the organizers and you prepare your speech in advance and they can play it if that can be worked out. That could be organized, I would assume.
The last time your man, I was trying to get in, but anyway, I wish that it could be more open for the general public, nationally and regionally. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bankie, to the caller, those kind of technicalities are not as easily dealt with in a situation like that because you're going to have a lot of background noise and so on in terms of trying to get somebody, if it's live, to accept the call and so on.
Call us, sorry about that kind of callback.
Yeah, so I understand what he's saying and I do share his concern, but sometimes in terms of addressing those things, it's really a bit of technicality. And you would need some technical equipment because you're going to need equipment, mics that could, block out the background sound and all of that. And there's a lot of things that's going to be involved in seeking to get that aspect done.
Caller, sorry, you get cut off. Can you call back? If you want to say, okay, I'm the caller calling back in Houston.
Yeah, let's take the call, yes.
Caller, good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Yeah, trying to find out what is Miss Meloney's thought about the Premier being the opposition leader and the Premier of Nevis.
Okay, thanks for that's it?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Very good question, Miss Meloney.
I personally think that the Premier, because of his position as leader of the Nevis Island administration, that it might have been better that he was not the opposition leader as well, to allow somebody else to have become the opposition leader. So that is my take on it. But we will have some more discussion in the future about how what the Constitution say concerning to that. Sometimes what I find about the Constitution is that there are suggestions in the Constitution. Maybe Bankie should not wear a white cap, or maybe Meloney should not wear that dress. But then it left it all up to Parliament to pass a law on that or make decisions where those things are concerned. But in the future, we'll talk a lot more about the constitution and what it allow and why if the constitution just was suggested, why the premier could still be the premier and the opposition leader, because then there is no law that was made against him being both in both positions.
All right, caller.
Okay, I think we got a caller. Caller, good evening.
Yes, go ahead.
Good evening to you guys and good evening to the guests. That was a great question by the previous caller there. I was going down that road. Yeah, man,
Make your point, caller.
we know. Okay, to the lady, the guest, is she, based on the information she has right now, is she for or against the Destiny Project? And we NRP in particular, right? I mean, I guess it's kind of like the same question this guy asked before. NRP said that they're not going to run a candidate in the local election and the federal election. Does she see that as something she agree with or don't agree with? And I want to point to the back and forth. Okay, I know she's combing over the Constitution right now. Did she see which section in the Constitution that give the control of the Nevis lands to the NIA administration or to the federal government? And I'm just going to ask what she feels about this back and forth between the premier and the prime minister. And let me just give a quick context. We hear before arguments that Nevis's projects are being blocked down in Bastille. So if the Constitution gives the Nevis NIA administration control over their lands, why did they go in the House and pass a law, the SSC law, in terms of the Destiny Project to give the Prime Minister the last sit to sign off on? Is that a boo-boo on the Premier's part? Because if the Constitution already gave the Premier or NIA administration control of land, why would he still want the Prime Minister to have the last say? Yes, I know that there is certain things the federal government is in control of, but I see that as when the Prime Minister created the ad hoc committee, he should just have that committee monitor the areas where the federal government is control. And then, therefore, the Premier would have been able to sign off on the Destiny Project without the Prime Minister. I'll leave it there. Thanks.
I don't understand that, caller. What you just say? I don't understand what the caller. Just. I don't understand what the caller was saying.
A lot of the reason why a lot of people are confused is because of what Miss Meloney is here seeking to profess, that she would be that change in relation to the level of transparency that is needed. Because a lot of the reasons why we are the way we are in relation to some of these topics is because we have to be speculating. And we're speculating about things that those who we elect to represent us have the information in front of them, but are opting not to present it to us. And so we are here now looking at something. So, like, for example, what the caller spoke to. No, yes, and even the Prime Minister in recent meetings, when he was asked the question, I think at one of his round table meetings, he pointed out specifically that Nevis has all autonomy to deal with whatever lands they have. He cannot stop the Premier from doing any project with any lands on Nevis. The problem that we have, I shouldn't even call it a problem, when it comes to the SSZ, is where the difference came in. So if the Destiny Project, for example, was just like another Four Seasons or just another Candy Resort or whatever other project that was going to be launched on Nevis, then there would not have been any need for the Premier to have to go to the federal government or get any clearance from the federal government. The problem is the SSZ was set up to facilitate projects like Destiny that is not necessarily a normal project, because they require some things that take you outside of the norm, that deals with things that may seek to infringe in some cases on things like security, sovereignty, the constitution, the law. And I guess these are some of the things that are in this thing that we don't know about and are just speculating about. and why the Prime Minister, because the Premier could have to, in his, from the Nevis end, set up an ad hoc committee too, but they have opted not to do it. They opted to just send the project to St. Kitts, and then the Prime Minister have opted to say, well, okay, I am going to not just take this and just jump and say yes. I am going to have a group of professional people look at this thing. And I am in agreement with the Prime Minister for a number of reasons. I don't know if many of you would have looked at the people who are a part of the Destiny Project in terms of the people who are the different lawyers and all of this. It's top lawyers and top people they have on their team. All we are hearing from is just our Premier and our Prime Minister, and this is one of the problems that I have with the SSC as well. The SSC kind of cuts out all of the regular people where you would have to go to planning and environmental and all of these people, and it's just the Premier who can just say yes, and the Prime Minister can just say yes. And I said that in the sense that the argument is going to be made. The Premier might come back and say, no, it ain't so because you have to go into Parliament. Well, let's be realistic. Anything that goes to Nevis Parliament right now, is there enough opposition to oppose it? So the argument that, oh, it is going to go to the Parliament and we're going to have a say because you have a first reading. But by the time the eye is going to have it.
We're going to take this final call and then we're going to the room and stuff like and going to the wrap up. Carlo, good evening.
Yes, Bankie. Yes. The Prime Minister had to.
Carlo, we're gonna wrap up, so you have to be brief.
Yeah. The Prime Minister had to be involved in this matter. The most important thing that Destiny wanted is under the purview of the Prime Minister. The Premier of Nevis can give them, which is all the security features that they wanted. And so they had to involve the President to get that. If they did not want that, then that would not have happened. They would not need the Prime Minister. Then the last thing I'm going to say, in terms of the Premier being the Premier of Nevis and the leader of the opposition, precedence has been set where Vance Ammy was the Premier of Nevis, Malcolm Gishard was the leader of the opposition, not Vance Ammy as the Premier. Vance Ammy as the Premier of Nevis, Mark Brantley was given the responsibility to be the leader of the Nevis. But somehow Mark Brantley ignored all the precedents that was there and decided to take it upon himself to fulfill his ego, and I will dare say his greed, hold on to both positions. And he cannot function effectively in none, because as the leader of the opposition, his greatest responsibility was to have a public council committee in place. That is his responsibility, and he refused to do it.
Carla, time to wrap up.
Thank you.
All right. Yahsonn, time to wrap up and get in the last points. And get Miss Meloney to get her last points and wrap up at the same time.
Okay, well, I'll just take in the last few comments and then allow Miss Meloney to wrap up. So, behind some of these questions here would have been some interesting questions. Okay, the federal government have me confused up today because I think if they are federal ministers, they should have had portfolios. Your thoughts, Miss Meloney? Trevor Benjamin says, do you think that campaign funds should be law and declared by law? Very good question as well, too. Trevor Benjamin again, these two elections are confusing. One is federal government and the other is local administration and not government. He says, destiny is just a thought for now. No lands, no destiny. C. Gaskell says, I will read a speech from this scholar if necessary. It would be great to include his as well as other diaspora national statements. Trevor Benjamin says, I have had a problem with opposition leader now. How can one oppose himself? C. Gaskell says the project has stalled on the PM's desk because it requires a level of sovereignty that the Premier cannot legally sanction, which is what basically Bankie and Mr. Maloney would have nodded to just a bit earlier on. Steve Mills says, okay, got all of this, just wondering how, if you win as an independent candidate, how will you be able to influence the major parties? If you win, another point of interest, another party has a majority and there is another seat taken by the other party. How will you function with the other candidates on the opposition side of the parliament? Yeah, okay. I'm not so sure. You got the gist of the question? No?
Yeah, and there's some question that went before that I would, but we're running out of time, so I'm hoping that I'll
Yes,
get the opportunity to come back. And
yes.
yes, I can. I work with once it's for the best interest of the St. Kitts and Nevis. I work with anybody that I have to work with. Like I said, to make life better for all of us in whatever capacity I can. I'm so sorry that we ran out of time, and I'm hoping to answer the rest question at another time. And so, in closing, I leave listeners with one final thought: the Constitution gives us institutions, but institutions alone cannot build a nation. People do, leadership does, citizens do. The Constitution gave us one federation. It is leadership that determines whether that federation truly works for everyone, whether we serve in the federal government, the Nevis Island administration, the private sector, or simply as engaged citizens. We all have a responsibility to strengthen our democracy, because good governance is never about power alone. It is about service, it is about responsibility, and above all, it is about people. Love you all. Thank you very much for having me here. God bless.
Yes, and I thank you for accepting our invitation and for, coming on the platform and using us as well to launch your possible, campaign run. And so we want to thank you for giving us that opportunity as well here on the platform. So, folks, for those of you who may be questioning, I just wanted to add this little point inside there, because a lot of people are questioning in relation to what would you do or what could you do as a one candidate. But we must remember it's just only 7 years ago that there was a one candidate who ended up being the prime minister. And so we can't just look at these things like that, because when PLP started, it was just Timothy, and he was just one, but he was able to bargain for being the head of the country. And so we still have to be very open and be open and openly conscious to the changes that can be achieved. With that, we want to say thanks to our sponsors. And before we say thanks to our sponsors, I want to encourage all of you who would have been logged on this evening. Make sure you subscribe to the platforms. Go on over to the YouTube especially. We're looking to increase our numbers over there. So if you have not subscribed to the YouTube platform, even you too, Miss Maloney, go on over to the YouTube platform, subscribe, click on the notification bell, and encourage folks and share it too. So that folks, my friends might not be your friends. And so, who's on your friend list would be able to connect to the platform. And we're looking for people to join up and so on. So we want to thank our sponsors, Islander Water Sports, also On the Rocks. So if you're traveling between St. Kitts and Nevis, check out the good folks there, Winston Perkins and the good guys and girls there at Nevis Islander Water Sports. They don't just travel between St. Kitts and Nevis. If you need charters to go to St. Martin, Anguilla, St. Eustatius, St. Barts, and so forth, they can take you down on those different neighboring islands. And while you're on Nevis and you're looking for some scrumptious food and fresh seafood, caught seafood, you can check out On the Rocks. You're looking for a nice place for a wonderful sunset. Sunset is beautiful from On the Rocks. You go on over there and you get some nice, wonderful beverages that are made by the wonderful staff over there. They really wow you over there on that side. So, tell them that the folks here on Real Entertainment Network and on the Topiks sent you, and they might just give you something exclusive. Just remember to tell them you heard about them right here on Real Entertainment Network. With that, I want to say give thanks, Bankie. I want to say give thanks, Miss Meloney. And thank to all of you who would have commented and all of you who would have called in. Give thanks, and we look forward to seeing you on Friday when we have another edition of, I think it's going to be another edition of the Topiks on Friday evening. And then on Monday, we have another edition of Quality Time with Alan. And then we're back with another interesting edition of the Topiks. And I think we should be having the premiere, none but the premier himself, the Honorable Mark Brantley, in on the 14th of July. And so, folks, I want you to mark that date on your calendar, and that is why you need to go on over to subscribe and click on the notification bell so that nobody have to tell you when that program is on. You would be notified. So thank all of you. Give thanks. Enough love, everybody. Guidance and protection. Love. Oh, sorry. The people at Maxville. I want to big up my brethren at Maxville to the top of Zion there. I tell them I would give them a little shout out this evening. And all of the farmers and, Justin and all, his dad and all of the folks around here, the New River Farmers Cooperative. Want to say good evening to all of you. Jama, my brethren, just up the road there. Still have Amripali, so if you're looking for Amripali, Jama still got, Bankie still got. Enough love, everybody. Guidance and protection.
Nice.
Into the world, the Topiks, Bankie and Yahsonn, real conversations. Hey. Lately we be having conversations with people, cause we feel like there's nobody really talking truth. We be having conversations with the people, cause too many media houses changing up the news. Everything was green light, now we seeing red. Everybody got opinions, you got facts instead. We be having conversations with people, cause we feel like there's nobody really talking truth. Tuesday night and everybody tuned in live. Bankie and Yahsonn bringing reasoning every time. Talking politics and the things affecting lives. Breaking down the stories they be trying to hide. Used to trust the system, now the trust gone. Everybody talking loud, but the facts wrong. People tired of the fake and the gimmicks too, so they coming to the Topiks for a clearer view. Got the whole Caribbean locked on the station. Real Entertainment Network, building conversations. No script vibes, not staged for the camera. Just real people talking straight with stamina. Maybe we be having conversations, cause we feel like there's nobody really